This meeting is being recorded. My name is Joe Render, and I will serve as your facilitator for this meeting. I'm with Galileo Project, who is supporting the Bureau of Land Management as a meeting coordinator and facilitator. This meeting will include opportunities for questions and answers about how to access the EIS documents, information about public meetings, and how to submit comments. This will include questions submitted by participants through the Zoom meeting registration process prior to the call. For those joining by computer or tablet, please submit questions via the Zoom Q&A dialog box located at the bottom of your screen. If you are participating today via phone and have a question, you may raise your hand by pressing *9 to let me and the BLM know. We will be stopping throughout the presentation to respond to questions. You may want to listen to the presentation first and then submit a question for that section if you would like additional detail from Casey. For those with questions about the draft EIS analysis and how that was done, we ask that you save those questions for the open house and virtual meeting at the end of the month. Casey is also available to respond to specific questions after this meeting. Now I would like to turn it over to Mike Courtney, the BLM's manager for the Twin Falls District, to provide some introductory remarks.
Oh, no, you're good.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Lava Ridge Draft Environmental Impact Statement Orientation. I'm Mike Courtney, Twin Falls District Manager. Today, we're going to show you how to navigate the draft environmental impact statement to find information. We'll touch on the alternatives and identify the preferred alternatives, and we'll also talk about how to provide effective comments. The public comment period began on January 20th and runs until March 21st, and we do not plan to extend it. And at this time, I'll ask the other panelists to introduce themselves. Start with you, Casey.
Hello, everyone. I'm Casey Prestwich, and I am the project manager for the Lava Ridge Wind Project for the BLM, and I work out of the BLM Shoshone field office.
Good afternoon. I'm Cody Martin. I am the Shoshone BLM field manager.
Hello, everyone. I'm Heather Teal Nelson, and I am the public affairs specialist for the Twin Falls District BLM.
Hi, everyone. I am Jamie Young, and I'm leading the consultant team preparing the EIS on behalf of BLM.
Hi, everyone. I'm Layla Arsan, and I'm helping Jamie lead the EIS as a third-party consultant.
And I'm Joe Render, and I'll be moderating this session. Okay, Casey, over to you.
Great. Thanks, Joe. Thanks to all our panelists for being on here with us today. And thank you, participants, for taking some time out of your day today. In this meeting, like Joe and Mike both said, is that we want to provide an opportunity to overview with you where we are at in the NEPA process for the Lava Ridge Wind Project, where you can access the draft EIS and supporting documents, how the draft is organized, and how to participate in public comments, as well as go over our additional upcoming open houses. As it is early in the public period, our goal today isn't to dive into a lot of detail of the draft EIS that's in the draft EIS, but we do want you to come away with an understanding of what is presented in the EIS, how it's organized, so that you can be most effective in your review. So please keep in mind that these are the topics that we are going to cover today, and as we answer your questions, as Joe mentioned, if you do have additional questions that are more related to the detailed analysis in the draft EIS, we will carry those questions over to our next meeting. As we cover the information today, I want us to remember that the BLM is responding to an application from Magic Valley Energy for a right-of-way on public lands, and the BLM's multiple use mandate includes the potential to develop these lands for a system for generation, transmission, and distribution of electric energy. And in conformance with the National Environmental Policy Act, we formally began the preparation of the draft EIS with a scoping period in August of 2021. Through scoping and as well as participation with the RAC subcommittees, the BLM has been able to engage in meaningful discussions about the project with stakeholders, members of the community, and public leaders. These discussions, in addition to coordination with cooperating agencies and our consultation with Native American tribes, has provided the BLM with insightful perspectives on the project. And over the past year and a half, the BLM has used the information to prepare the draft EIS with a focus on the issues and concerns expressed during these opportunities. In preparing the draft EIS, the BLM developed a range of alternatives to address conflicts by considering issues raised through the public scoping period, coordination with cooperating agencies, and consultation with Native American tribes. The BLM identified 3 alternatives to analyze in detail, in addition to the proposed action and no action alternatives. On the screen is shown the action alternatives, which are alternative B, which is the proposed action. Alternative C, D, and E are the additional action alternatives. The BLM identified alternatives C and E as the agency's preferred alternatives, with the intent that the BLM will retain the ability to consider project elements that balance energy production with reducing the potential for adverse impacts. The agency's preferred alternative may change between draft and final EIS. Information acquired during the agency's public comment period could help identify an alternative that blends elements of the agency's preferred alternatives, incorporates elements of any of the alternatives, or provides rationale for selecting any of the 5 alternatives as the preferred alternative in the final EIS. An EIS is prepared to analyze and disclose effects of a proposed action on the natural and human environment, and to consider reasonable alternatives and mitigation measures. The information in the EIS is utilized to inform BLM's decision on the result, and the resulting decisions based on the EIS would be issued via record of decision. The record of decision would be issued no sooner than 30 days after the publication of the final EIS. So as you can see, we indicated on the slide is we are here in the public comment period. And you can see where we've been with the scoping and preparation of the draft EIS, and where we are headed as far as preparing the final EIS and issuing a record of decision. And although we have the NEPA process provides an opportunity for the public to formally provide feedback to the BLM, and the public comment period begins with the publication of a notice of an availability in the Federal Register. And as Mike indicated earlier, is that formally began on January 20th with that publication in the Federal Register. So during the public comment period, the public has an opportunity to provide feedback on the draft EIS directly to the BLM. That information would be utilized to inform the final EIS and the decision made by the BLM. The public comment period will end on March 21st. And if your, if your comment is mailed, that would need a postmark date by March 21st. In addition to the feedback on the draft EIS, the BLM is also looking for comments on the draft programmatic agreement that is incorporated in the draft EIS as Appendix 8. The draft programmatic agreement is an agreement that will outline how the BLM will address potential impacts to historic properties if an action alternative is selected. And now, although we have came a long way since we started the draft EIS, it is not this draft in preparation of the draft EIS. This is not currently BLM's decision on the project. As I stated earlier, the decision will be made after we consider the comments, prepare the final EIS, and issue a record of decision. And so after this, so right now we'll just take a couple questions about the NEPA process and the public scoping period.
Okay, thanks, Casey. We did receive a comment both in the Q&A box and during registration about the comment period. And Mike, I think you mentioned this in your introductory remarks. Would the BLM extend the comment period?
Took me a while to find the video button. So at this time, we do not plan to extend the comment period. Well, we've still got 45 days or more in the comment period, and we would encourage people to use those to get through as much of the document as possible. Maybe near the end, we could entertain that question again, but as of now, we do not intend to extend the comment period.
Thank you, Mike. There was also another question during the registration process. Will the BLM undertake plan amendments associated with the DEIS?
So far, what's being analyzed in the draft EIS does not require a plan amendment. So we regularly, the Monument Resource Management Plan is old, but they're regularly maintained. It's been updated 6 times since it was written, and it's, for all practical purposes, it's current for us.
Okay. And from today's participants, there's a follow-up question about the comment period. Wanting more information on what would necessitate extending the comment period.
So, as Mike pointed out earlier, we're in 45 days in. I think where we're at with that is we absolutely want folks to use that time. And what we're hoping is a lot of folks will get out of today is a lot of good information on how the draft EIS is organized and where that information that they're most interested in is at, so that they can efficiently review the document and get their comments in. So as far as what we're looking for is for people to participate. We're looking for what we've got through that participation through the 60 days. And like Mike said is, if there's a reason that we need to extend past the 60 days, we'll evaluate that reason on the basis brought forward to us at that point. So I think what we're asking is folks to take away from this meeting and be as efficient in their review as possible, and we will explore later if we need to.
Okay, thank you, Casey. One other question that has arisen in the past. How are cooperating agencies involved in the NEPA process?
Right. So cooperating agencies are part of the process is if they have a formal decision to be made, or if they have areas of expertise that will help inform the analysis. And so early on in the process, the BLM sent requests out to agencies that might have that expertise or have an area that they would need to be involved in to make a decision in their own purview. And so we were able to get cooperating agencies such as the Idaho Fish and Game and other state agencies, including the Office of Species Conservation, the Office of Energy, Office of Minerals and Energy Resources, and in addition to SHPO and the Department of Agriculture and some others. As in addition, we have the National Park Service, the Army Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and we also have the 3 counties involved as Lincoln, Minidoka, and Jerome counties. So their role is coordinating with the BLM, reviewing early versions of the document, providing input that way, and just helping BLM with the information we need to prepare a document.
Okay, thank you, Casey. That covers most of our NEPA questions.
Great.
In terms of the process. If you'd like to move on to the next section.
Great. So yeah, we'll move on. And so the question, where to access the draft EIS? The draft EIS and supporting documents are available for viewing and download from the BLM's e-planning website. So as shown on this slide. We have sent outreach materials with information on how to access the documents, but if you haven't had a chance to explore the e-planning website, we'll walk through it with you here. So I'll move from the slide for a minute and go to the internet. So following that link will take you to this page, which is the BLM's e-planning webpage. This homepage has information about general information about the project, has some links on participating in the process. And if you haven't done so yet, it also has a link to a form where you can sign up for the mailing list. So this would be emails or an address itself. If you received email about this meeting or information in the mail, then we already do have you on the list. But to get you to the documents themselves, after you're at this page, on the left-hand side, where my cursor is showing, is a documents menu, and you would just click on that documents menu. And here is the list of all the documents that are available. These first group of documents is just giving you information on how to participate. The next set of documents is the documents associated with the draft EIS themselves. And if in your viewing you cannot see the full titles of the names of the documents, you would be able to adjust your screen so that they do show up. So there are quite a few numbers of documents. The reason for that, or files themselves, and the reason for that is they are divided up into 50 megabyte or less files so that they are easily viewed via the web or downloaded. The first file itself is just the content sheet. So this is a couple page document that just helps you get oriented to what's available where. The next document, which we'll get to volumes in a minute, but indicated by a V1 for volume 1, V2 for volume 2, V3 for volume 3, and then all of volume 4, these here are simulations, and that's why they're large, and they are individual files. So in addition to the draft EIS itself, on the e-planning website for viewing and downloading is supporting information. And these are technical memos or survey reports that help context in context to some of the information prepared in the draft EIS. Separate, divided a little, organized a little bit separately is still supporting information. That is the visual technical report. Similar to volume 4 of the draft EIS, this has a lot of files because of the large file size of the simulations. But this is a visual technical report with all the simulations that have been prepared for the draft EIS. So I do want to point out before we move on to the next page is that in the visual technical report, we have added 2 KOPs, which will be key observation points, which we refer to as KOPs, and we've added 2, which is KOP 16 and KOP 17. These are not included in the draft EIS itself, as they were added and the information was collected late this fall, when we didn't have an opportunity to incorporate it into the draft EIS. But we added these in response to stakeholder feedback that they wanted a KOP at the honor roll located at the Minidoka National Historic Site and a KOP located on Sid Butte. So that is the quick down and dirty of how to get to the documents and where they're located as far as the digital documents. We also have digital copies of the draft EIS available on USB drives. However, we are running out of those. We do have a limited availability at this time, though. So if you do have trouble downloading the documents, let us know, and we can they'll either be available to pick up at the office, or we could mail them to you directly. We do also have hard copies, paper copies of the draft EIS. I know that the electronic ones are convenient, but there's still something about the paper copies that we like to and like to look at and get our information that way. So if you want to view the information on a paper copy, they are located at the BLM's offices locally, or we also have some of those paper copies in the Portland and Seattle area as well, at the locations listed here. The paper copies will be available for viewing during normal business hours at the offices. At the other locations outside the local area, those will be available at the discretion of those locations themselves. The other option for a hard copy is to download and put on a USB or get a USB drive that the BLM provides. And you could have that printed off at a copy shop or wherever you get your printing done. So the overview of the draft EIS itself. So the draft EIS, as I covered earlier, is broken up into 4 volumes. With volume 1 containing the executive summary and the body of the draft EIS. So if you download that content sheet, you'll be able to see where the information is located per volume. And so this is a good sheet to have if you're wanting to explore and find out where the information in the draft EIS is located. So the volume 1, the executive summary. The executive summary provides a quick overview of the document, briefly hitting on the main elements and providing a table that provides a high-level summary of the potential impacts. The executive summary is there to give you an idea of what is in the document and summary of the conclusions. And the way a lot of that these executive summaries are used is to provide an idea of what's there, look at the summaries in the table, and then go dig deeper into the body of the draft EIS itself. The main document also includes chapters 1. In chapter 1 provides the context for the document and describes the purpose and need, the decision to be made, and the primary issues that BLM is assessing in the draft EIS. Chapter 2 of volume 1 provides a summary of the proposed action and the alternatives, with more of the detail of these provided in some of the appendices that we'll hit on in a minute. So this will give you an idea of what's being proposed in the in the proposed action and alternatives, but for the details, you'll want to explore some of the information in the appendices. Chapter 3 is the bulk of the draft EIS, and chapter 3 provides a description of the affected environment and analysis of the potential impacts. Chapter 3 is divided up into sections by the general resource or land use and the issues being considered. And we'll come back to the main body of the draft EIS after we cover some of these other volumes. As I mentioned just a second ago, is the details of the proposed action is in the appendices. So volume 1 or volume 2 is in 2 sections if downloaded from the e-planning website. So volume 2A and 2B. This is the plan of development. The information in this document provides the detail of what is being proposed and how the project would be implemented. This document describes what will be developed, how it would be developed and operated, and the requirements and the requirement measures and best management practices. The plan of development is Magic Valley Energy's full proposal. If an alternative is selected that would authorize Magic Valley Energy to develop the project, the record of decision could include direction for updating the plan of development so it meets specific requirements outlined in the record of decision. So this document would be updated after a decision is made. an action alternative is selected to ensure that all the requirements and elements in the EIS are carried forward to the development of the project. Volume 3. This is volume 2. And before I moved on to volume 3, I do want to point out that in addition to the main body of the plan of development, the plan of development also includes a lot of supporting documents, such as the reclamation plan, the health and safety plan, the road and design and traffic transportation plan, the bird bat conservation strategy, and a host of other plans, including the grazing coordination plan and the noxious weed management plan, amongst others. So when you're looking at the draft EIS and it's directing and it's identifying what some of the measures are, or identifying what will be done, it is based a lot of based on the details that are in these plans. Moving on to volume 3. Volume 3 includes all the other appendices to the draft EIS. These, except for appendices 5. So this is appendices 2 through 11. These documents provide the additional context needed to understand the analysis in the impacts analysis presented in the draft EIS body. So as you're looking through the analysis in the draft EIS or the affected environment, and you are looking for more detail, if it's referencing an appendices, that's where that detail could be found. And so what is included in volume 3? So just an overview of the other applicable laws and regulations, issues analyzed in brief. So this is a table of all the issues that were considered, but were not brought forward for detailed analysis in the draft EIS. However, we do analyze those issues in brief, providing rationale for the assessment of those impacts. And it has Appendix 4 is the mitigation measures. So these are your best management practices or your standard operating procedures or design features that are carried forward, some of them from the plan of development, and some of them are prepared after coordination with BLM staff and cooperating agencies. The other appendices, appendices 6, appendices 7, are information that was prepared in support of our analysis. And the titles of them are draft Eagle local area population analysis. And then appendix 7 is the sage-grouse habitat quantification tool analysis. Sorry about that. I need to get a little bit of a drink here now. Excuse me. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, is the appendix 8 is where you'd find the programmatic agreement. And along with that, appendices 9 is a list of the cultural resources that known cultural resources that are located in the area of potential effect. And then finally, appendix 10 and 11. Appendix 10 includes the framework and a discussion on our mitigation framework and how we would proceed with mitigation measures if needed and warranted. And appendix 11 provides is a description of elements that are common to all alternatives. So this is summary brings back around to what's brought forward from them, carried forward into all the other alternatives from the plan of development or what may be different as well. So that it's, before we move on to other materials, well, let's cover other materials real quick. So as these are the other materials that we that we seen on the e-planning. These are just the supporting documents that helped inform a lot of the information there. So if you're looking for supporting material, more detail about a specific issue or where BLM got their information from, that was a report or a survey that was done specifically for this project. This is where you would find that information. So let's just hop back right into the draft EIS again before we move on. So every time you open the EIS, it should come up with the menu on the left-hand side. I just want to take a minute to help you to help identify some of the tools that I use when I review this, and I hope will help you. If that menu does not come up, you can usually click on these items that are on the side to bring the menu up. This menu on the left-hand side is really handy for going through, being able to go through the document and find the information you want quickly. So say we were interested in livestock grazing, down the side of the menu, you could just look at livestock grazing and click on that. That will take you to the very beginning of that section. Or if you wanted to go through, find a specific part of that section without scrolling down, you'd be able to open that menu and find some of those issues that were analyzed, look what the affected environment was, or go directly to the impacts. So, and that also helps you understand what the issues are that were analyzed in detail are, as they're all listed here. Additionally, you can do the same if you're interested in the proposed action or alternatives. Use that menu to go right to alternative C, where you could look directly at what alternative C includes there. Another handy part of these figures or this menu is being able to go to the table of contents. So even if you were just already in this section and you want to go back to the table of contents, you just are able to click right into those there and go right back to it. And the table of contents is also hyperlinked. So say you're looking for, you've seen a map, maybe you were looking at the hard copy and you've seen a map and you wanted to get to that same map. So this is a list of all the figures. If you knew the map was about the alternatives, you could click on that and that would take you right to the map. So these are the tools that I was talking about earlier that we're hoping will help you be more efficient in your review of the draft EIS, rather than reading page for page, going down through it, exploring the document in a way that works best for you. And those tools are all available in each of the documents. So those are available in the pod as well. Another feature that we like to use is this find text. It's represented by a magnifying glass here, or you could also hit Control F, and that brings up a box that you can use to just type in a word that you're interested in to see if it's there. So in this case, I think we used this before, is livestock. And so it brings up livestock, and it says it's located in the document 272 times. And so that could help, and you can view where those are by clicking through that. So if you want to see what is being described there. So those are a lot of the things we wanted to point out, and I'm sure we'll go back to that as we go on to help answer anybody's questions, where maybe some material is. Before we go on to how to participate, we'll just take a second and stop and see how many questions we have and see if we have anything to answer here.
Sure, thanks, Casey. And just a reminder for folks who have joined us by computer, if you could please put your questions in the Q&A dialog box, that would help us to track those and make sure that we get them covered. We do have quite a few questions about specific topics and how to find those in the DEIS. Casey, could you show us how to find information about the amount of energy that would be produced and how backup capacity would be enabled for when there are no wind days?
Sure, yeah. So as far as energy produced, we'll look at a table that's in chapter 2. And so like we used before, we could just hit on that table. It's an element of the proposed action or the alternatives. We could look through here, and this it's going to, after you get familiar with the document a little bit, you'll know it's in this table. That's a project components by action alternative. So you'd hit that item, and here it'll show for each alternative the amount of energy by its estimated generation capacity, which is just a function of the turbines, the amount of turbines and their and the individual turbine capacity for the generation. You'll also find the estimated annual generation in terawatts. So this is the estimated generation of, of electricity that will actually be generated, not just like the capacity. So that's where you would be able to find those numbers and compare them across all the alternatives. For backup power or power, there's a couple things you could utilize. We could utilize the here and if you had read a description of it, it includes battery storage. So we could just type in battery here, and here is where it would talk about battery storage or give a summary of it. And the other option, and this would be just a summary, the other option would be also to look in the plan of development and use those same ways to get there. So related facilities and systems, and then you can look for the battery storage in there as well. So it gives a description of the battery storage that would be utilized to help facilitate the use of electricity when the turbines aren't actively generating electricity. So those are a couple. Did that answer those questions, Joe?
I believe so. Thank you, Casey. Someone had a question about navigating the document, and I'm not quite sure how much technology we can get into at this point, but she's saying that she's asking to read these documents with the left side menu that you're showing here with the bookmarks. Do we need Acrobat Reader? She doesn't see the menu on the left on her computer.
That is a good question. I do know that Acrobat Reader is available for download. And when we go, so yeah, it does look a little bit different. So if you do go from this location on the web, it would download those. It might look a little bit different. But you can still continue to use those same functions. And of course, it'll load a little bit slow here, but we'll give it a chance so we can see that. The option would be is to install Adobe Reader, which I believe is a free download that you can get. So yeah, we'll leave this open here, and it'll almost be done. But this is why we use 50 megabyte files. So in this scenario, it didn't open with the menu. But if you instead of click on the page, just click on here, it would provide that menu. In Reader, if you're not seeing that menu there, or those things on the side, you just have to click there. But I think if you're still having issues, always just feel free, even if it's an issue like that, give me an email and I'll try to coordinate with you on a time we can chat or talk, whatever it is that we need to. We want you guys to be able to efficiently review the document. So take home is those are a couple of things I know about. But if you're having troubles, let us know. Don't sit there and struggle. We'll try to help you through them as much as we can.
Okay, and one question on navigating where to find certain documents, and I believe you covered this, but let's make sure. Where would someone find the draft programmatic agreement for Section 106?
Right, so that would be in Appendices 4. Excuse me. Excuse me, Volume 3, Appendices 8. So there. So one good way, and that's why I kind of hit on it earlier, is if you download this contents document, it'll help you out pretty well that way, as it'll list it right there, which volume and the appendix itself. So that could help you. And then, as always, you can just search through the left side menu, use the find tool and those kind of things.
Okay, and one question on how to find the mitigation measures the BLM has identified as being part of this effort.
Right, so all of those are listed in this Appendix 4 under mitigation. And so let's just go into there. We have some divisions here: applicant committed measures or measures required by BLM. So the applicant committed measures are listed in this table, and they're listed with a number. The mitigation required by BLM. So these are not ones that are brought forward from the pod, but were additional measures required by BLM. And they are listed with alphabet system. And then if you go into when you're reading the analysis of, let's just go to air quality here. And if you went into, say, the impacts, right? All right, let's just go above the impacts for an example. Alternative B with additional measures. So in this here, you'll see that it says measure A. And so that's referring to that table, excuse me, to that table here, right? So if we're saying the measure there, and so this kind of gives over the measure a little bit, but then where we're relying that on the analysis, we'll identify measure A, measure 1. And if you need more information on the details of what's incorporated in that measure, you would go to Appendix 4 and look it up in that table. Because we reference them multiple times throughout the document, if we listed out the whole measure every time, it would just make the document, the draft EIS, cumbersome to read, and then just extra large.
Okay, and we did have a question about how the project area is defined. So they noted the total number of acres, but where would they find a description of the project area?
Yeah, so the project area is very general in nature, as in it's the area that expands or is that the elements are span across. So we don't we haven't like specifically provided like a specific description about it, but it is the essentially, if you took, let's go to that map. We can, so if you took all the aliquot parts that each of these areas touch, so aliquot parts are a part of a section divided up into quarter sections or quarter sections, and divided those up or lump those together, then that would be your project area. So it's all the public lands where the project is on, but it ends up being a rectangle up and around the project itself. So we do focus the analysis on the corridors. So we do not go through and fully describe the project area. We just provide that for context of where it spans across. So our analysis are focused on the corridors or specific analysis areas identified for each issue itself.
Okay, and we did receive a couple questions about the communities. Where could they find information about income levels and minority populations?
Right, so income levels. So in section 3.6 here, environmental justice and socioeconomics, you'd be able to read about those environmental justice communities, as well as the socioeconomic the local, and let's see right here if we can get this. So we can go here, the local and regional economy. So that's where you'd be able to read about that information.
Okay, and there's also some interest in finding information about noise and light.
So you'll burn the noise will be as it affects different impacts, or as it impacts different resources and issues. It'll be discussed in the draft EIS itself. In addition to that, if you want to read the technical report itself on noise that was prepared for the project, you'd be able to read download this Lava Ridge Wind technical report and read specifically about the noise levels. And this is what those helps inform the impacts that are in the draft EIS. So light, we do have here, this is a document provided by the National Park Service where they did inventory the light characteristics at Minidoka National Historic Site, as well as out around Laidlaw Park, or I'd have to see, maybe it was the landing strip, or not the Laidlaw landing strip, but one of the other landing strips out there. They took readings over the night with photographs of the night sky and summarized that there. And then also a technical report analyzed the impacts from the light on the night sky. In addition to that, you would find a description of the air, the light that would be needed to meet FAA standards, the lighting on the turbines themselves in the plan of development, as well as the air detection lighting system, acronym is ADLS, and what that would, how that would be employed. So those are different locations for them. Of course, if you want noise, I don't know if that will help you a lot to do this. 357 times it's mentioned throughout the document. You could also look it up that way.
Okay, thank you, Casey. Just a couple more resource-related questions. Someone is looking for information about impacts to birds and bats.
That's all in the avian and bat section of the draft EIS. The summary of the surveys that were completed, as well as the impacts analysis. And there's also several other technical documents or survey reports available on the e-planning website as well for those. So yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit of information. So I think my recommendation would be to read through the analysis, and then where those technical reports are being, or surveys are being referenced here. If you want more of that detail, go look those up on the e-planning website.
Okay. Someone was also interested in finding information about other renewable projects in the area, and if those were included in the EIS.
We do have some discussion of those, within our introductory, under existing, future trends and actions. So these are, these are also talked about as cumulative impacts. So these are the items that we looked at for that also contribute to impacts. And so these do have a discussion of some of those additional, and a map as well. The map is full of those items. So that's where you would find that discussion is in that section. So it's in the introduction under section 3.1.1.
Okay. I believe this is the last one I'm seeing on just finding resource information. Someone is interested in finding information on revenue generation.
So yes, so I would direct them, and I guess it just depends on a little bit more about what what the question is, but the socioeconomic section will have a discussion about the tax generate the revenue that would be generated by the counties and those kind of things. The actual like revenue generated by Magic Valley Energy isn't discussed in the document.
Okay, thank you, Casey. We do have two participants on a computer with raised hands. Would you like to take those questions now, or would you like to talk a little bit about public meetings first?
Yeah, let's get through some of our information, well, and then we can come back to some more of these questions as we work through, but appreciate all your feedback or all your questions and participation. So how to participate? If you'll excuse me, I'm going to grab another drink real quick. Keeping me on my toes and getting my voice nice and cracky. So how to participate? This slide provides a really high level overview. The best way is to, number one, review the draft EIS. We've gone over where that's located. We also want you to attend the public meetings. This is a good start, but we do have some other ones coming up. So attend those public meetings. Be informed from those reviewing the draft EIS and the public meetings, and provide a comment. And like I mentioned earlier, is if you haven't signed up, please go ahead and sign up to get on our contact list. So upcoming public meetings. So our takeaway from here is we've asked you guys to look at the document, get familiar. We anticipate more questions, particularly since we're not covering here about some of the information in that chapter 3 of volume 1 that we went over, with a lot of the resource information and the analysis of impacts. So in order to help answer those questions, we will hold 5 public open houses. 2 of them will be held in person within the local project area. So one will be held in Shoshone, Idaho, at the Lincoln County Community Center. And that will be on Wednesday, February 22nd from 2 to 4. And then the following day, on February 23rd, at the Canyon Crest Event Center, we will also hold another in-person open house at that location from 5 to 7. We'll follow up those 2 open houses with a virtual open house. So it'll be like this meeting, except we'll have, our intention is to be able to provide the open house experience to those that might not be able to attend in person. And so we'll present the same information with some presentations and have a question and answer section. And as well as we'll have a section where people can provide comments. Then the following week, we'll have the public meetings in Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington. These meetings we organized these meetings so that we could provide an opportunity for the Japanese American communities in these locations to be able to participate in the process, even though they're not located here locally. So we wanted to provide that same opportunity, and so we are meeting with them. And the reason those communities or we're targeting those communities in these areas is because they do have an interest in the Minidoka National Historic Site. So these open houses will provide an opportunity for stakeholders to engage with the BLM staff and the SWCA staff. It's an opportunity for you to ask questions, get clarifications, and just get an understanding of what went into preparation of the draft EIS, with the intent that you would use this information to prepare your comment on the draft EIS. A little bit about these meetings. So just what kind of format are they? I think we've got some questions on that. And so we say meetings, I really try to redirect that and continue to say open houses, because that is the format that we are preparing. So we'll have people around, our staff around a room with information presented on, say, poster boards, have all the visual simulations in a binder, as well as some that are blown up. And most importantly, the staff there that you can ask your question and engage in dialogue with that specialist that helped prepare the information that's in the document. So our intent of these open house events is to increase our engagement with those stakeholders. One reason is to ensure you guys have the information you need, have all the context, and again, with the help of that dialogue, but also for the BLM to get that dialogue from you as well. So those conversations are always helpful, and we find these type of meetings are the best approach to facilitate that. And the public, so we would have all that information and that opportunity to engage with BLM staff there. And although the primary ways that you would submit your comment on the document is through email, e-planning, or through a letter to the BLM, we do understand that as you're at these meetings, some of that information after that engagement will be in the forethought of your mind, and you'd want to prepare your comment there. As you're talking to the BLM staff, we won't be taking comments directly from you, but we will have an opportunity for you to sit down at a table with a comment form and write out your comment and submit your comment at the meeting. Or as another option, we'll have a court reporter located at the meeting where you could sit down with that court reporter and verbally give your comment to the court reporter, who would transcribe it into a written comment and submit it to the BLM on your behalf. So we'll have those court reporters and those comment forms at all the open houses, and at the virtual meeting will provide that same opportunity as within a comment, a time set aside for those comments. One item I did want to hit on is that we have had questions about, and that is the locations selected in Portland and Seattle. And I just wanted to take a minute to kind of talk about those locations themselves. So through our stakeholder engagement report, we got feedback that in-person meetings would be very helpful for engagement with the Japanese American communities. So we looked at providing the same opportunities in those locations. As we were looking for venues, we coordinated and discussed this with the National Park Service as one of the elements that was identified was the Park Service and how they brought meetings for their the parks plan for the National Historic Site when they were preparing that. So we talked to them and seen what locations they used, where folks or these communities would be located. And we looked at the locations that they used, and we tried to find venues that had the appropriate size, had available parking, those kind of elements, easy, kind of easy to get to, where they might not have to fight as much traffic. And so that's where we identified these locations, particularly the Mercer Island one. As we were working through what locations to utilize, it was we discussed a couple locations, and those were downtown, and we were we discussed that option, and having somebody that knew the area and knew how people function there, recommended avoiding downtown as the traffic, and people generally try to avoid downtown if they don't have to go in, just because the amount of traffic and parking and being able to get around down there. So we looked at it was this location at Mercer Island was recommended to us. It was a big facility that would accommodate the amount of people that we would needed to accommodate, as well as it had parking and was accessible from several different communities within 15 minutes, 20 to 15 minutes away. And so those are that was the rationale behind our selection of those venues themselves and locations. So how to submit comments. So you've gone to the public meetings, you've read through the document, and you know what you want your feedback to say to the BLM. How do you get it? So we covered a couple of those ways in the public meetings themselves. But in addition to that, and one of the primary ways we'd like to receive these comments is through our e-planning website. So if we go back to that e-planning website, and you see the document here, you can hit participate now, or even if you're just at the home, you can hit participate now on this button that's on the left-hand side and highlighted in green. Once you're there, you can hit the participate now button again, and you could cut and paste your comment into here. You could type your comment directly in here. You could upload materials that like a letter. If you already have a letter, you could upload that, and that could be your comment. Or if you have supporting information to your comment, you could upload it there. And then you would just type in your name. And if you would like to provide additional contact information, you'd click that button, and where you could provide that contact information. Just remember that the BLM, you can ask the BLM to withhold your information, but under some circumstances, we won't necessarily be able to withhold that information. So that's how you would submit a comment through e-planning. The other avenues are just sending an email directly to BLM_ID@lavaridge@blm.gov. This information, this email address is located in several different locations. We've been trying to get it out to everyone. But if you don't have questions, or this presentation will be recorded, so if you don't have a pencil or anything, write it down now. You can go back and review this presentation. The other option is to hand deliver or mail a copy of your comment directly to the BLM at the Shoshone field office. And we would take that comment and scan it and and provide it directly into our record system. So that's how you would submit a comment. Other things we wanted to highlight is what or how to provide an effective comment. You know, a lot of comments generally come in and are just a statement that either opposes or for the project itself without any real context or additional information that BLM can consider. Now, those are comments that we take, and they are a comment, but that doesn't give us any information to change or adapt or inform the final EIS further. So what we're looking for is detailed information with rationale for why changes to the EIS or change to the programmatic agreement are desired. Or describe the significance of the potential impact and how those affects you and others, or the activities that you do on public lands. You could also provide any new information that is relevant to the project or to the issue that we've assessed, or discuss modifications to the existing alternatives or suggest other reasonable alternatives with justification. The other bullet here says explain why you are in favor or opposition to the project, or specific features of the project, but you must, in order for us to do anything with that comment, we need you to provide your reasoned basis related to the analysis. So we would be asking you to provide some more information on why you're opposed or in favor. So these are the main elements that we're looking for as far as the types of effective comments, and we would be able to use that information to update from the draft to the final EIS, the analysis or the information that's in the draft EIS. And to make your comment most effective, of course, is to make sure that you get the comment to the BLM by the closing of the comment period on March 21st. So to recap again, download however you're going to review the draft EIS, participate in the public meetings, engage with the BLM on those conversations, get the information you need to provide the effective comment, and submit your comments. And then, of course, always, if you're looking at the information, have questions, want to discuss some of the information, can't attend the in-person public houses, aren't getting what you need from the virtual meetings that are recorded and available, you can always call me. We try to make ourselves, or I try to make myself available to anyone. And although I won't always get back to you immediately, I will get back to you. And with our goal of that being, we want you to be able to efficiently get the information that you need so that you can provide your perspective and your feedback to the BLM, because that is an important part of this process. And that's our goal here, is to get feedback from all of the stakeholders. And then with that, I will open it up to questions on the meetings or the comments. how to submit comments, those kind of things. And then we'll open it up as up to all questions about the materials we covered here today.
Okay, thank you, Casey. We've got a few questions that came in from the registrants. Are you going to be documenting who attends the in-person open houses?
So there will be a comment or a form when they come in that will ask people to sign in. So we'll have a list of people that show up to those public meetings. And then, of course, on the virtual meetings, we'll have the list of people that registered. So we will be documenting that. Was there another part to that?
No, you covered that. Next question is, will attending the open house in Twin Falls, the in-person open house, have the same effect as attending the Zoom meeting?
I guess that just depends on the information you're looking for, but I always recommend these open houses to attend in person if that's possible. Because of the you'll be able to engage directly with the BLM staff or the SWCA staff that prepared the draft EIS. So they would be able to have a conversation with you on the specific topic that you're interested in. So I would recommend attending it in person if possible. However, we do try to, we know that everybody can't make in-person meetings. And so we do try to make that opportunity available to you virtually. However, I don't think you'd get the same dialogue that is really beneficial, I think, to understanding what's in the document and being able to get the most out of your engagement. So I would recommend attending if at all possible. If not, the virtual meetings close second.
Okay, and somebody has asked if there's any way to add a meeting in Seattle or Bainbridge Island.
So unfortunately, right at this point in time, we wouldn't be able to add a meeting in those locations with the time that we have, just being able to set up the venue and make those arrangements. I don't think we'd be able to get that established, and as well as getting everybody out and about or getting all the message out. It actually takes quite a bit of an effort to get these set up and put together. So.
Okay, and we do have a few questions about the comment process. Who reads and reviews the public comments?
So all the comments will be processed. They will be looked at and put in a database where we would identify, specific topics where they would get a code on what the topic is about. And then the SWCA staff and the BLM staff work together to look at each specific comment and make a response to those comments.
Okay. And will there be an opportunity for commenters to verbally present their comments to a public manager at the in-person and Zoom meeting open houses?
So no, all comments will need to be formally provided as a written comment. And with that clarification there is that you can provide your verbal statement to the court reporter who will transcribe that verbal statement into a written comment. But if you just are talking to, say, me or Mike Courtney or Cody Martin and say, hey, this is my comment, we will ask you to either go write down your comment and submit it or give your comment verbally to the court reporter, as we need that documentation to facilitate the process of getting the comments into the database and being able to respond to them directly.
Okay, and someone is asking, how technical do comments need to be? Do they need to list references, attachments, diagrams, etc.?
Yeah, they don't have to. It depends on the topic and the kind of information that you're trying to share. If you are looking at a topic or an issue, and you're looking at maybe some information that you know of that is contradictory to the statements that we're making in there, and we're basing that off of a certain set of information that you have different set of information, say like another journal article or that information, then yes, we would ask you to submit. You wouldn't have to necessarily submit the whole other journal article or the analysis out of that journal article, but we'd ask you to reference that. So we'd have that information. Or if, you are identifying an error that we may have made with any part of that that would require you to explain that through in a technical way, then yes, that would need to be submitted with your comment. But in general, they don't have to be real technical. You can provide the statement that directs us to the location of the document that you want to draw our attention to, and just articulate what you think how BLM could change that to make it more accurate, or why that information is important to you.
Okay. How will multiple comments from a single person be handled?
So multiple comment submissions, they'll just come in as multiple submissions, and when we process the information, they will just be recorded as we receive them. So they'll be recorded in multiple submissions. If it's the exact same submission, it would just be we would record the comments that are exactly the same as a comment and we would address that comment because it's one comment. It's not a different comment. We would respond to that in the same way, just once. But if it's multiple submissions with different information, then that would be, we'd look at that additional information for additional comments and respond to any additional comments directly. So it really doesn't matter if it comes in one or two different submissions, as long as the information is something we can respond to.
Okay, and someone asked about how oppositional comments are presented. Will the number of opposed comments be presented as a percentage of the total received?
Yeah, I'd have to look at that, but no, I'm pretty sure no, we don't necessarily count those opposition. We don't count opposition or for, and we don't count them and identify them as the amount of comments we received in opposition or for the project. We're looking for information and not a vote on the project. We're looking for information to inform the BLM's decision. So we don't necessarily count or record those as a percentage.
And will every comment submitted get a response?
Every comment that has an element for us to respond to will get a response. So that goes back to what we talked to for is the information that we're looking for. If it's a comment that doesn't require a response in the EIS, it will be identified as a comment we received and noted in the record, but not necessarily responded to. And if I can go back to that other question, is the reason we don't identify like a percentage or like this, because this is not a scientific, the comment process doesn't allow for us to adequately assess all of the people, and so it doesn't have a lot of meaning. It's just the amount of people that provided a comment, and not an amount of people in a statistical way that would provide the information on, like, we know that 100% of the American public or 10% of the American public is for or against this, right? It's not an adequate way to sample that.
Thank you, Casey. There is one question that came in as a go back regarding public meetings. If someone locally is willing to set up a meeting venue in Seattle or Bainbridge, would the BLM be willing?
Why don't you send that, Mike? It looks like maybe you have.
Yeah, I'll take that. We have our trip to Seattle and Portland planned with locations picked that we had help with at finding those locations, and I don't, at this point, we do not intend to have a third meeting up there in Seattle. So we're going to go with the locations we have. There's an opportunity for those that can attend in Seattle to attend an online meeting, and I would encourage them to do so. And if they need help, we'd certainly be willing to help them access that online meeting.
In addition to that, like I've said earlier, is I make myself available for discussions, for those kind of things. So in addition to attending the online meeting, give me a call, give me an email. We'll set something up, and where we can go through any of that information that you need and get you that experience that you need to effectively provide a comment on the EIS.
Okay. And someone is asking for further clarification regarding submitting comments at an open house. Understanding that comments or testimony will not be submitted to a group, as is typical of what takes place during a public hearing. Instead, those wishing to comment will be directed to submit individually via court reporter at the open house, or write down their comments and submit them before the end of the open house. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. There are a few other, oh, sorry.
Before you leave that, I think you said submit the comment before the end of the open house. We need the comment by March 21st, which is after the open house.
And that's for all comments, including those submitted via the avenues that Casey had on his slide.
Well, the court reporter will be available at the open house, but the written comments will take until March 21st.
Okay.
So, right, we'll take written comments all the way till March 21st. There will, if they write down their comment, we will take that written comment at the open house.
Casey, would you mind showing that slide again?
There we go.
Perfect, thank you. There are a few other written questions that came in, and we still have a hand raised. Casey, is it okay to do a couple go backs on some of these topics?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We got 25 more minutes, so yeah, as long as there's questions, we can work through some of those other topics too.
Okay. Someone noted that the Bureau of Reclamation was not a cooperating agency. But it appears that Bureau of Reclamation lands are involved.
Mhm.
Were they invited to be a cooperating agency?
Yeah, we discussed their ability to be a cooperating agency. And I had discussions with them, and they determined they didn't need to be. I'll just open these maps real quick to help us talk about that. Oops. So the kind of a lighter shade of yellow, if you can see on the maps, is the Bureau of Reclamation property. And you can see some of these lines go through Bureau of Rec. These are county roads. There are rights of way already across those sections of Bureau of Reclamation. There isn't any anticipation to do anything outside of the county right of way. The county, and then anything that would happen on the county roads would be part of the county, or it's say county right away, but it's the highway district that's in charge of those roads. So right now there's no proposal to do anything that would expand that right of way or do work outside of the right of way in those locations. So they did not have a decision point in the process, and they also did not have any specific expertise that they felt they needed or could provide.
Thank you. Someone is asking for clarification on SWCA's role in the preparation of the DEIS.
Sure. SWCA is a third-party contractor that helps the BLM gather the information needed and works with our staff to prepare the document based on our direction. And so they are basically another member of our team looking through the information, assessing the information, and putting the document together.
Okay, someone asked for clarification about the proposed action.
Mhm.
Is the action the BLM's proposal or Magic Valley Energy's proposal?
So the proposed action is Magic Valley Energy's proposal. And that is described in detail in the plan of development. Magic Valley Energy submitted an application to the BLM for a right-of-way to develop a renewable energy wind project. BLM is responding to that application for the use of public lands. And so it is the proposed action is their proposal. The alternatives are what the BLM has, are alternatives the BLM has prepared based on the issues and concerns and information that was brought forward to us throughout this NEPA process.
Okay, and a little bit about the schedule moving forward. What is the administrative process moving forward once the BLM issues a final EIS?
So we would, of course, prepare the final EIS. And after we prepare the final EIS, we would publish it, publish a notice of availability in the Federal Register, just like we did for the draft EIS. That final EIS would be available for public review. It's a public review. It's not a public comment. We don't necessarily take additional comment because it is at that point a final document. And so it is available for a minimum of 30 days prior to us issuing a record of decision. So we would issue a record of decision sometime after we publish the final EIS. It doesn't have to be on day 31 afterwards, but it could be sometime afterwards, so like 35, 40 days afterwards. Our plan is to issue the record of decision relatively soon after the availability of the final EIS.
Okay, and what's the process of choosing the final action?
So we would look at all the public comments that are being submitted. We would look at, we would prepare the final EIS. In that final EIS, we would establish a preferred alternative. And we would look at that, those elements in the comments, as well as just with our interactions with stakeholders. And the BLM would determine the course of action that we would approve. That could be either the preferred EIS that's identified in the final EIS, or it could be a combination of that preferred EIS or preferred alternative and other alternatives. But we would articulate what that decision is in the record of decision with the rationale for why BLM selected that alternative or combination of alternatives.
Okay. There's a couple more questions on how to find things. One is someone is trying to find Appendix 8, the draft programmatic agreement. Could you show them where that's located, which volume?
Mm-hmm. So I'll start here just to make sure you know which one to download as far as from the e-planning system, if that's where you're starting at. It will be in volume 3. So that's labeled as lava_ridge_dis_v3, and then it says apps 2 to 4 and 6 to 11. Once you've downloaded that document or opened it up to view, you would see this screen. And then again, you could either navigate through the left-hand side menu to Appendix 8, Cultural Resources, and click on that, and that would take you directly to that. Or of course, you could just scroll down through, or as always, if you're in that document, you could type in programmatic. And go through the information that's shown you that way. However, there is a lot of programmatic, so maybe that is not the best avenue.
Okay, and there was a question about finding information in the draft EIS about water and where the water is coming from for construction and decommissioning.
Sorry, repeat that. We kind of had a glitch.
Oh, sorry. Someone is interested in finding information about water in the draft EIS and where water is coming from for construction and decommission.
So that would, the water, discussion about where the water's coming from would be in the proposed action or the alternative. So that would be in chapter 2, and that provides a summary there. Also appendix 11 would provide a summary of items that are common to all, but where you'd really want to look for some of that detail is in the plan of development. And you could just type in water, and that would hopefully, yep, so operation workforce equipment. But you could look through the different areas that it covers that topic. And so you would just be able to look through these sections in the plan of development. For analysis impacts, that is an item that we analyzed in brief. So that would be in appendix 3, and it would be in this table here. And so so you'd be able to look through these sections, and where it says water, there will be an analysis in brief about the water issues.
Okay. There are 1 or 2 questions about alternatives. Someone has asked, is there a no action alternative, and can the BLM still select that alternative?
Yes, there is a no action alternative. And so if we go to the document itself, the no action alternative is described pretty shortly, but essentially that would be BLM denying the application. And all 5 alternatives, the no action alternative, the proposed action, and all additional action alternatives are available for the BLM to select. We haven't made a decision until we issue the record of decision, so that there's no final decision until that point. And at that point, we retain the ability to issue a decision based on any of the alternatives.
Okay. And one of the registrants asked when registering, were other options considered? And they related it to the possibility of a methane plant. So it sounds like other options relative to wind energy.
No, so we were responding to Magic Valley. We are responding to Magic Valley Energy's application for using public lands for a right of way on public lands for a wind energy facility. So that is the purpose of our evaluation in the draft EIS, and so that's the limit of our scope is reviewing their application. We are not assessing other generation capacities as that's outside the scope of this document.
Okay, it looks as if we have worked through most of the practical questions that have come in through writing. We do have one person's hand raised. Casey, are you up for a live question?
Yeah, I'm assuming that's via phone.
Yes, I believe so. Jerry Heimerdinger is on the line. Jerry, if you're still on the line, I'm going to allow you to unmute.
Hello?
Yes, Jerry.
I must have bumped the button. I apologize. I didn't have any comments right now.
That's
Sorry.
okay. That's okay. I'll go ahead and lower your hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
A couple other questions have come into the dialogue box. Does this project have special status because it is a wind energy project?
Repeat that again.
Does this project have special status because it is a wind energy project?
Special status, sorry. No special status because it's a wind energy project.
Okay. And there's a question, to what extent will non-local BLM as an outside of Idaho influence the BLM's decision?
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I'll take that, Joe. So we are writing the document here. We're collecting information and comments here. We're responding to comments here, but we're also accountable to checking in with HQ so that they're aware of the status of the project, and they have suggestions and ideas for us to consider too. The decision is made locally though, or can be made locally by the field manager, Cody Martin, or I.
Okay, thank you. I'm not seeing any additional questions at this time. We are at 8 minutes to the hour. Casey, is there anything else you'd like to discuss with the group while we have them?
Yeah, no, I'm just going to put up my contact information one more time. And just identify that I am available. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I know that seems like something that we might get a lot of people coming in, but that's my job. So don't hesitate to give me a ring, give me an email. Like I said, I may not get back to you that day, but I will do my best to get back to you. So please don't hesitate to use that. Other than that, we are looking for your comments. This is how you can provide your comments. Please ensure you get your comments in. And if you have any questions or struggles with that, again, just reach out to me. With that, I just want to thank you all for your time today, and look forward to meeting you at the public meetings if that works out. And with that, I will say again, thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, everybody. We'll close the meeting now.